And hello, everyone. I'm Leah Secondo. Thank you so much for joining us on Turf Talk. I'm very grateful to be collaborating with Longstreth, the brand of field hockey that everyone knows about for decades. And each week we will break down the sport, divisions one, two, and three. We will also look at some of the top high school players in the country. We'll take you right through the national championships for all three divisions and wrap things up in early December. So great to be talking about hockey right now, though. The season is just underway. We're about 2 weeks in for some of the divisions, and two and three are also getting going. And we're going to take this time on this show today to look at the three previous champions in one, two, and three. And so, with that, we start off our show with Division Three. And Catherine DiLorenzo, the head coach at Middlebury. Coach, thanks so much for joining us on the inaugural show.
Of course. I'm really happy to be here, Leah. Thanks for asking.
Absolutely, Coach. You've got the juggernaut up there. It's a great situation that you have at Middlebury, and a beautiful setting as well for the student athletes. What has been the difference maker for you? You think both academically and athletically in Division Three at Middlebury to capture 6 consecutive D3 championships?
If it were any one thing, we'd probably be able to bottle it up and just keep repeating the same thing. But I really feel strongly that it's really a philosophical approach where you're working all year, every year, to assemble the kind of ingredients, the people in the environment that they will love. So you talk about or you mentioned the academic piece. This needs to be something that's feeding their intellect, feeding their souls as well, so that it is they have made a great choice. And when they feel that way, they bring that to the table. When they come down to the field and they're training and they're competing for their team, they really feel as though the world they've entered is something that is a once in a lifetime opportunity for them to be a part of. And we really focus, once we have everybody in that environment who's so happy to be here and is so capable, we're just working on not the external influences on championships or anything that is sort of an end game, but really on playing the highest caliber of field hockey we can put on the field every day. Yep.
The ratio of students to teachers in the classroom, I'm sure is something that the student athlete considers going to Middlebury. And what are some of the things, like if somebody's watching the show and they're trying to break down where they would like to go to further their education and continue to play the sport, that you impress upon the student athlete about Middlebury?
Sure. The student teacher ratio at Middlebury is a prized element, a prized factor in one's experience coming here. Small classes, especially in some of the humanitarian or the humanities disciplines, and especially too in the sophomore, junior, and senior year when you're getting into 200, 300, 400, and 500 level courses. And we're talking about ratios like 1 to 10, 1 to 15, where the class sizes really are pretty intimate.
Your team is 127-5 over the last 6 seasons. You had 2 undefeated runs there at 22-0. Tell us a little bit about who you have coming back. Team's currently 2-0 on the year. I know you're starting to prep for some games that you have coming up. You've got Trinity on Saturday, right?
Yep, we do.
I believe
Trinity
at
on
home
Saturday
though.
and Babson on Sunday. So a big weekend up here in the Northeast. We have some midfielders back who've been real stability for us, and strength in the front and in the back for us. Catherine Lancey and Amy Griffin for sure. I don't like to name names, but they have been at the fore all 4 of their years, and they're both seniors right now. But we have a first lineup on the field that is really full of seniors. Great picture. Really full of seniors. But what I will say is that we, as any team is, we're a work in progress, figuring out upon the departure of our group of 7 from last year, where was the speed that departed? Where was the, hot knife through butter slice passing that graduated last year? And how do we get some of those great strengths back? How do we accomplish the things that those things accomplished? Like putting pressure on our opponents. How are we going to put pressure on our opponents this year with the group of people that we have now? And, we're grateful that we have, really familiar folks to play through the middle with. But, it doesn't start and end there. We really are working really hard on, building our structures so we have strength and speed and vision and fluidity throughout. And very excited about, especially for the senior class, to be able to lead from the field this year, almost throughout the class. It's going to be a very, very exciting year.
You've already outcornered your opponents in 2 games, 29-6, which is pretty amazing. And you're getting obviously some stellar goalkeeping in the back with Izzy Redzik. Tell us a little about Izzy and how that defense works into offense for you folks.
Sure. Actually, we have this is the strongest top to bottom goalkeeper group we've ever had. They are really all performing very, very well. It was a tough decision who we would even put into the game first. Izzy is big, strong, athletic, explosive, and is doing a great job. She's a great direct shot goalkeeper, great stroke saver. But again, I'll just say about the goalkeeping, this is only her second start. Last weekend was only her second start. The strength of our goalkeeping positionally is pretty amazing this year.
The competition and the level in D3, some of your thoughts as to, your opponents and how things stack up and staying in focus to the end game for the team this year.
Yeah, it's just, I am brimming with sort of excitement about just the energy and the growth and the competitiveness in D3 right now. Now we're just looking at dozens and dozens and dozens of teams. Those teams that have been at the top recently are just getting better and better. The granularity in their preparation just shows up in every game that they're playing. It's much more difficult now than it ever was before to really pick apart and, have an approach that is going to, shut down their threats and maximize your own, right? So I'm just so excited for the level of the game that our division is playing. It's just really, really exciting. The opportunities that finding success has given our group here at Middlebury. As one of my seniors just recently at the White House, she just threw that picture up, said, the playing this game well is the gift that keeps on giving. You get to,
right,
visit the White House, be at the Capitol, and travel abroad. And it really is just an amazing experience for them.
Oh, Coach, you're a legend. What you're doing at Middlebury is just really unheard of, and hopefully with the sport of field hockey garnering more and more attention. Obviously, we talked about it during this summer, thank goodness, with the Olympics, and hopefully that just carries through and just resonates more and more. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's a really, really fun approach, and I'm really excited to listen to the other divisions talk about their seasons. Thank you so much.
Excellent. We're going to have you back for sure as the season progresses. All right. Great. All right. Thanks so much. We're going to take a brief time out, and when we come back, we'll talk a little Division II on the flip side. Stay with us. Welcome back to Turf Talk. Each week we'll be hitting divisions 1, 2, and 3 and some little high school action as well as we talk about the sport of field hockey, the sport we love, and we'll be talking about it all season long. I'm your host, Leah Secondo, and now we move into Division 2. And Kutztown was the reigning national champion in D2, winning the first ever national championship. Marcy Schuing joins us now. Coach, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
We're very excited, Coach. Really, everything that your team did last season and the story was truly storybook for you all. How have you found that to kind of help you all bounce to be where you are so far in this young season?
Yeah, it's very interesting because last year we didn't. I mean, our goal every year is to get to the national championship, and for us last year it was very much because we didn't make the NCAA tournament the year before and went 16-3. My players definitely wanted to prove a point and come out and show everybody that we are good enough, and we've worked really hard to get to this point. So we called it the Revenge Tour last year, not in such a negative connotation way, but more for fueling for us. And they went into it as the underdog, and I think that was also great for us to be in that position to be the underdog. And we beat some incredible teams to get to the national championship, and then ultimately beat an incredible team to win the national championship. So it felt really good, but it's been a long time coming. There's been a lot of work over the last, I've been here 10 years now, over that many seasons to get to this point. And as any coach knows, there's so much that goes into it, including a little bit of luck, and things have to go your way and fall into place, and just all of those things. And that happened for us last year. But moving into this year, we wanted to prove to everyone that it wasn't a fluke and that we are here to stay at the top. And we really want to earn the respect of everyone, but also hold ourselves to a certain standard. And our tagline for this year is humble but hungry. So we want to make sure that we stay humble and don't get, read the press clippings and think we're really, really good. You have to work for it. And I think we have done that to this point.
All right. We see the poll rolling across the bottom of the screen there. D2's first week poll will come out actually next week, but that was the preseason poll. And ESU was one of your nemesis, as well as Shippensburg last year. You lost both of them in the regular season. What was that motivation and the thought process as you went into that championship game?
Like I said, things have to fall into place. And I almost think losing to both of them in the regular season, who are both just absolutely incredible teams, well coached, they have incredible players. I think that was helpful to use as what did we do wrong? What could we fix in those games to come out on top? Both were overtime losses. When we lost to them before, we lost to ESU in overtime in the regular season, and we lost to Ship in the PSAC semifinals in overtime. So we were right there. We knew we were very close. And we just made some very minor adjustments to be able to beat both of those teams.
Part of that revenge tour was part of a, I guess you would say, lesson learned from a couple of years ago. And I've heard coaches in other sports talk about this. We've got to make sure that if there's any question, we don't leave any doubt in the decision makers. And you had to have that tough decision and conversation with your players. Tell us about that piece of 2 years ago when your team went 16-3.
Yes. So the year we went 16-3 and didn't make it, I learned a lot as a coach too. When you haven't been there, you haven't really been there before. Now we did make the Final Four in 2019, but I was still, I would say, generally young in the Division II landscape. And I think you learn a lot about scheduling and taking hard teams on the road and different things like that. And it came down to a very small point differential. Now, I will say the committee got it right. We probably shouldn't have been in that year. But at the same time, I learned how to schedule better. So these first couple of weekends, we're on the road in Massachusetts and Vermont and trying to play some tough teams on the road so that we can get those quality points.
Right, and as you mentioned, being on the road, your team out of the box, you haven't allowed a goal yet. Really doing a nice job offensively as your squad. 104 shots, really amazing. 16 goals thus far. Haven't given up a goal, but a tough weekend ahead for your squad. Preview that weekend for us, both at Southern New Hampshire and Bentley.
Yeah, Southern New Hampshire is a very well coached team. They have a couple players that are very, very good. So hopefully we can go up there and play our passing game and our press and just do the things we do as a unit to be successful. We haven't allowed any shots on goal yet this season. Against these teams, I anticipate that we will have them. So it'll be interesting to see how our defense reacts once we do have that. And then Bentley is a very strong team from the north, and we play them on Sunday. Now they play East Stroudsburg the day before us, so we're both be coming off of back-to-backs. So I think it'll be a great, test to see our fitness level, and to see, what we can do with a tough game back-to-back, just like we'll see, in postseason.
Your team made the tour after the championship, hoisting the trophy everywhere. But I thought it was interesting the story of heading to see Iowa take on LSU up in Albany and that experience for the players.
Yeah, we just hit it at the right time. We when we could pick the date that we wanted to be recognized at halftime of a March Madness game, I tried to do the math and figure out, where Iowa or LSU might be playing and how deep in they might get. So the latest game we could choose was a Elite Eight game, and I knew the regions, and I thought, this could really turn out to be one of those two teams playing here. And then they ended up playing each other, and it was right at the culmination of all the Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark stuff. So it was really incredible to see. I took my two little daughters with us as well. And they think this is normal for women's sports to be sold out and to have these kind of arenas and stuff. And for my program and my players to see that, it was, I still get goosebumps thinking about it, but it was incredible to be in an atmosphere like that for women's sports specifically. And the TV ratings and all of those things are just incredible. But to see the growth of that sport, I'm hoping our sport can get there one day as well. But to see where that was just even a couple years ago and where it is now is really something to see.
And along with Middlebury, you folks had the opportunity as well to be able to go to the White House and experience some time at the White House as well. What was the awe and with going to the White House and some of the players, and your thoughts too, being able to walk in places that the general public normally doesn't get an opportunity to?
Yeah, well, I did get to rub it in at home because my husband's a U.S. history teacher, so he was very jealous as well. But the kids just loved being there. We got a tour. The military they give tours throughout the rooms and explain the history of them. It was an unbelievable experience that I'm so glad they got to see. None of my players had been inside the White House before, so it was a new experience for everyone, and it was just a very very good experience overall.
And then the final stop of the Grand Tour, I guess, would be the State House. And
Yes.
that opportunity had to be special as well, being in your home state.
It really was. And the architecture and the building there as well was just it's something to be seen. And, I think in third or fourth grade, you go on a field trip there, but it's not somewhere you routinely would be, but it was just beautiful. And the standing ovation from the chamber, and it was just, you felt seen and you felt respected. And once again, for women's sports, I think it's huge to be able to feel those things and see those things. And for the athletes, it's just a confidence boost for them to know that not only are they, getting to experience this, but they're well respected by the people that are in that building.
I'm a student athlete. You're going in to watch my game. I may not be having the best game. What are you looking for as you go out and scout student athletes' perspective to coming to Kutztown?
Yeah, so for us, it's a lot of intangibles and off the field stuff as well. We do not recruit someone just because they're amazing at field hockey. Now, it's a plus if they're amazing at field hockey and have the other things as well, but they have to be the right fit for our program. So a lot of the things we watch, I mean, it helps if you're very fast or have fast hands, but it also helps, how you treat your teammates and how you talk to your parents when you're walking off the field and how you talk to your teammates when you're on the field, how you communicate. So it's very important to see the whole picture. But we also obviously look at skill-based things, but field hockey is such a game of, you lose the ball. Well, what do you do next to get it back? Is it frustration or do you just get right back in the play? Those are the athletes that we want here, is that never give up attitude, but also smart hockey IQ and personality, and just how you fit in with your teammates is a huge tell to what you're going to look like
Right.
in a college program.
You, the polls in your play in your conference, and how do you feel as though your setting, obviously in Pennsylvania helps, but the actual conference play sets you up for success?
Yeah, the PSAC is brutal, in all the best ways. Even the team that got picked last is still a very good program, and you don't get a cupcake game in our conference schedule, and so you have to be. I love that though. I think it's great to play against high levels, and I think that's why the PSAC has won the national championship so many years in a row, is because we see that type of competition all year long, so we're ready for it, and it really sets the standard and it's fun, but it's also challenging. I don't get much sleep during the season because you're always worried about who you're going to play next. You named a couple of them, Ship and ESU, but you could go way further down that line and name a lot others that are very good as well and very challenging. And they're going to come every single year, and especially when you won the whole thing, they're going to come even harder. So we're ready for it, but it is very unique and very challenging to be in that conference.
Well, women's sports is doing it right at Kutztown. Had an opportunity to see the softball team this past spring, and congratulations to you and all the women's sports teams at Kutztown, and best of luck the rest of the way. Hope you'll continue to join us and follow us on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you, Leah.
You're most welcome. We have to take another time out, and when we come back on the flip side, we're going to talk D1 with North Carolina right after these messages. Stay with us. Welcome back to the show, Turf Talk with you. We'll be talking college field hockey and high school field hockey all season long, Division 1, 2, and 3. I'm Leah Secondo, your host. So glad you could join us for this round. And now we move on to Division 1, the reigning national champions, North Carolina. And with that, their head coach, Aaron Matson, and new assistant coach, Rene Ricardo, also on the show. Ladies, thanks so much for joining us today.
No, thank you, Leah. This is amazing and exciting, and I'm glad both of us could join.
Yeah, me too. It's been a long time coming. We've been talking about it for many years, and to make it come to the forefront is really awesome. And you two, both on the field, and now what you're doing, starting in the coaching realms, just going to continue to flourish this game even better every day. So thanks so much for joining us here on the show. Aaron, first off, season's starting really good right now. Things are moving on from a good weekend. I know you're starting to think ahead here, but I was shocked when I was going over the schedule last night. You guys get a pretty good break.
I know.
Which is awesome, right?
Yeah, it's got its pluses and minuses. I think obviously with the conference realignment and everything, it's not maybe ideal, but it actually is. It's going to be really nice this week to be able to come off of 2 really strong weekends. We don't want to lose our footing, or, the girls are just getting their legs under them and everything and into the rhythm, but we're going to mimic a game week. We carry a big enough roster to do that, this and that. And honestly, I'm excited to see how having a week to really digest and continue to work, rather than, how the season goes. It's just preparing after preparing after preparing. And you need to be really intentional with setting time aside to do all of that. And this week, we're not in a rush to worry about who's next. It's kind of a week just to focus on us, which is nice. So we think it's going to go well.
You talked about closing the book and looking ahead, and it's great. The setting there, and Coach DiLorenzo earlier in the show with the awesome background, and Coach Schuing with the awesome background, and you guys have a great setting with your locker room space. But if you could preface what you spoke to the players about closing that chapter, but also wearing UNC proudly and thinking about what legacy they're going to leave.
Definitely. I mean, the element of being hungry and not being satisfied is obviously present. I think everyone's learned that about us from now. By now, I carried it with me as a player. Rene carried it with herself. The team carries that. A lot of the times the question is like, what else do you want to do? And it's like, what do you mean? I want to do everything that we did, but again and better. So it's definitely, there's that level of motivation. and belief there, which is really exciting to think about. But it definitely, you know, was a storybook ending. It was a fairy tale of a season, the ups, the downs, the everything in between. So, you know, it's finding that balance of wanting to take the, you know, challenges we went through and the lessons we learned and the conversations we had from it, but also not refer too much back to it because it is a new season. So I think we've been in this position before, though, you know, coming off of a successful season and it being the next one. And, you know, we've handled that well. So it's not necessarily doing anything different or feeling like we have to change anything around it. But it is really, we have to be super intentional with striking that balance of, okay, this was great, but let's only use it for the motivational belief side of things and that confidence the team feels in everything and the support we feel, rather than expecting anything's going to happen or, you know, last season this worked, so it's going to work this season, which we all know it's not the case at all. So the team's done a really good job of that. And honestly, I'm grateful to have such a great staff we're all on the same page about that. And we just want to focus on this season. And you've heard us say it before, the next game is the most important one. It's been our mindset for 6 years and it's worked out pretty well. So we're going to keep that at the forefront.
Absolutely. And, you know, you have an opportunity to play alongside with your friend for so many years. And now, Romay, you move into the coaching position. What has it been like? The chemistry there is obviously you guys know each other very well on and off the pitch. But the fluid motion now to take that into the coaching realm, Romay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like it's been a great transition. I think, especially being able to have that kind of relationship with the team and then kind of having to separate that balance, similar to what Erin had to do last season, went super smoothly. And if I had any questions, I had her to relate to. So I think it's been a great transition. And I've been just excited to kind of get back right into field hockey. Like I never left. So the transition's been great. And Erin and the coaching staff has been great on helping me throughout that.
Absolutely. And by the way, congratulations. You've had like a little whirlwind there. You got the national championship trophy, you get engaged, you graduate, and then all of a sudden, boom, your friend's asking you to come back and be on the sidelines there. You know, has it been a little bit of a whirlwind? Have you been able to kind of step back and enjoy this, or is it kind of good that you're just kind of moving on to the next thing?
I think right after I graduated, I think that gave me some time to just like settle down, kind of take everything in, where like I kind of was excited to go right into this coaching role because I kind of had those 6 months to kind of just digest everything throughout the season. But I love field hockey. I'm already watching all the games, trying to scout other teams and all that. So it's been great and something that I've been excited to jump right into. So I like a fast-paced kind of day. So it's been good for me.
Now, as far as the season goes and where we are with the polls obviously coming out, and you know, you guys are right there neck and neck. There, it could be a collision course with a lot of different teams, right? Virginia certainly is garnering a lot of attention in the ACC. The fun part at Cal and Stanford coming into the conference, a lot of storylines for this season, and just some of your thoughts as we take a look at the poll that just came out for this week. Northwestern, obviously, number one. You guys, number two, neck and neck.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be another exciting season. There's lots of strong programs out there. Like you said, there are programs that have, you know, been on the up and coming and are finally getting that recognition in the top 5 rankings. We obviously are very proud to be in the top 5. Everybody on that list, no matter what number you are, wants a certain number, and that's just the reality. But it's going to be really fun to, close the 3 weeks of out of conference, this and that, and really start in conference play and matchups and everything. But you can tell there are talented teams, talented programs. We'll continue to preach, you know, we have respect for everyone we play. We know we're going to get everyone's best game. So it's really exciting, and I think we'll just keep chipping away to hopefully get the end result that we want. But right now we're proud of how we've been playing. We feel good about it. The team feels good about it. they're learning and absorbing. So to us, that's more important than, what numbers put in front of our name on the weekly poll. And we know if we just stay the course, then it'll all shake out in the end. We don't get too wrapped up in it, but seeing a number 2, of course it's gonna pump some motivation into things. But we try to stay really grounded and just focused on the week of practice and what's next on the short term.
Right. And it's kind of funny, right? You're like, well, geez, we got 11 national championships here. We're just coming off of one, and we're 2, but you get it. And you're right. It does create the motivation piece.
Mm-hmm.
So with the team and coming back, you get Katie Dixon back. You've got Abigail Gold back. Obviously Riley back. I mean, you've got some Setzka. I mean, I could just go down the list. Did you both feel, and your staff, that you were ahead of where you kind of wanted to be training wise, even though preseason is short for you? And how was that an advantage?
I think it definitely, tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like they are, just because of the senior leadership we have and the veterans on the team, they grew a ton last season. We grew a ton this spring. And now we have that leadership trickling down and just experience. So I do feel, I don't know if we're like further along. I wouldn't say that, but I feel like we're in a really good spot. And for us, preseason did go extremely well. Not just like, we're not really focused on results. We're focused on how we feel as coaches, how we feel they're taking in information and applying it out on the field, and those results will come. So I feel like we're in a very good place of where we're at with them as a team, on and off the field, with how they're playing, with how their mindset is going into certain games or quarters or situations. Like, I do feel like we're in a good spot. I don't love to compare it to like other teams just because every season's different, but we are proud of where we're at now. Again, it's nowhere near where we want to go, but it is, I feel like we're in a good spot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think last season, if anything, we were a little bit younger, and I think there's a lot of players that developed in their leadership, and then that continued in the spring, losing a few of those like veteran leaders. But I feel like this season, everyone grew so much from having such a young leadership group last year. Right. But this year, there's such a big group of them that I think that the preseason was great. And I think even the younger players that are learning are now going to be ready for the next season. But I do agree with Erin. I think every year is different and unique, and every team's different and unique. But I do feel that we have a good core leadership group this year.
I'm a student athlete. You're coming to scout me, which would be a long time ago. And we're just saying. So what are you looking for in a student athlete when you go to scout them?
We are looking for fundamentally sound players who have an edge and who want to win. We talk a lot about the balance between the work ethic, but you can work as hard as you want, but sometimes skill is going to take over. And then other times you can have the most skill and talent, but if your heart's not in it and you're not determined to do whatever it takes, it's not going to matter either. So for us, the way we coach our players, the players who we feel like best aligned with our program and stuff, they are the absolute best passers and receivers, and maybe elimination skills, but the basics, you've heard me say it, Leah, we work on fundamentals every practice. At the beginning of practice, the girls, they know exactly what they need to work on in terms of the basics. So if we can do that, then we can do all of the fun, amazing things. So we care a lot about just fundamentally sound passers, receivers. If you can communicate, great, but I honestly don't expect, I didn't know how to communicate at the club level. We focus a lot on that here, but again, the foundation needs to be set, and then we can do all of these other things. But also, like, we want people who will go to battle, and we want people who will do whatever it takes to put the ball in the back of the net, or to prevent someone from getting in the circle, or to prevent the ball crossing, the line in our goal. We just, that killer mentality and that mindset of aggression and competitiveness and all of that, we look for that as well, and we train that here. So I guess the balance of the two, we like, and the ACC is known for, we're known for it. We like to play pretty hockey. I want to play like the Netherlands. I want to play a very technical and tactical game of hockey. But that can only go so far. We also need to be outworking other teams in better shape. We need to be diving for balls and going for things and running down balls that other teams, wouldn't think about doing. So I guess kind of finding the balance in between the two.
I also think the relationships that the girls have with each other, I think that's a big thing, is chemistry. I feel like you have a team of 10 or 11 players that all work very individually, where also players that are willing to be team players, just like Erin said, passers, just how they communicate with their parents, how they communicate with their coaches, their teammates. All those things I think are also important that we look at in players when we're recruiting. Sometimes just like the little stuff that people think we don't look at, but that is something that we look at.
Absolutely. We're watching you. It's like Santa Claus. We're watching you all the time. And it's so true, because your body language certainly tells a lot, but what you're doing off the field and kind of surround yourself around your people is certainly important as well. Ladies, that'll wrap up this edition of the show. Look forward to catching up with you a little bit later in the ACC season, but I'll have my eyes on the squad as well, as we always do around the ACC.
Awesome. Thank you, Leah.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
So great to see you both. Really appreciate it. Well, that will do it for this edition of Turf Talk. Join us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. for the show. You can catch the show as well. It's evergreen on YouTube and Facebook and a number of social media platforms. But thanks so much. We'll see you next time on Turf Talk.